Well, Reggie is a 3-year-old cat owned by Sheila, and actually, it's a fascinating case to me. I love to see. I love a challenge, and actually, Reggie, most veterinarians wouldn't even think the cat had any problem at all. But Sheila is so attuned to her cats emotionally, she could get that there's something off with this cat. And I had the fortune to be able to do a house call, and she has 4 cats, and they're running around, and this Reggie is sitting on the windowsill, batting at the shades, at the cord and the shades, constantly for hours. She tells me she does that all the time, and that she's kind of weird. She just doesn't look her in the eye. She doesn't seem to respond, and she's very hyperactive. She's frenetic and she moves, and I guess during Hurricane Sandy, she kind of clung to the shades and didn't move there for hours. And, I don't treat people, and I don't have much familiarity with children's diseases, but it just hit me. This cat seemed to be autistic. And I've never really encountered what I understood to be an autistic animal, but it just hit me. This cat is not connecting. It doesn't look you in the eye. It's just like obsessed with certain things, doesn't move from there, and this hyperactivity. And I said, I think this cat's autistic. And it had no other problems physically. All its systems were in shape. I mean, you couldn't say, no vet would look at this cat and think it had any problems, and probably many owners would never even think that this cat had any problems. But I was really excited because fortunately, homeopathy has remedies to address. In fact, there are many books written how to treat autism in children, and I was really excited to transpose my readings from children that I had done very sparingly to animals. And I know there's a big controversy. Can vaccines cause autism? And I do believe this to be the case. So I looked up remedies to treat. I cross-referenced autism with remedies to antidote vaccines.
Reggie has always been very hyper and running, crashing into the Venetian blinds, running madly all over the desk, knocking things all over the place. During Hurricane Sandy, she got into the window underneath the Venetian blinds, and she was just standing like that, like in the middle of the storm with the 60-mile-an-hour wind and everything. And has a very unusual personality. So when you came she's too hyper to take her any place. So you came here. We were working with the other animals, and then you could see her in the windows, but she was playing with the Venetian blinds with the drawstring, and just obsessed with it, just in her head, just in her own world. And combine that with the frenetic activity and the fact that she would never look, no matter what, would never ever maintain eye contact. So then you started to tell me that she was exhibiting symptoms of autism, which I am not familiar with. So in treating her over time, she looks scared today because strangers are here, but she has been much more normal. She's much more interactive.
Well, it was interesting because actually this is the first animal that I ever recognized as being autistic. I don't have any extensive experience with that, but there was something definitely odd about her, and it was the signs of autism that I've heard about. And I know there's a controversy with vaccines and autism with children, but with homeopathy, the proof is in the pudding. And she had her kitten vaccines, and I used the remedy Thuya, which is a remedy to antidote the bad effects of vaccines, and that is what clicked her out of that state that she was in, and she became more interactive.
Yeah.
So it was my hypothesis that she was autistic, but it was proof with the remedy, because this is that the remedy actually that the vaccine actually caused this condition because the thuya, which antidotes the vaccine, brought her back to normal.
Yes.
So it's my guess that this cat was born normal, did not have this emotional problem, and it was created by the vaccine. I mean, I don't see any other possibility. She became like a normal cat.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And then the remedy, we started with a pretty high dose because she was a young cat, but it did wear off, and we had to up the dose, right?
Yes.
When it wore off, what was she happening again? She was...
Well, just the frenetic activity picks up. And then also, it took even, it wasn't immediate that you could make more eye contact with her. So these, her personality, sort of returning to normal has been, well, it wasn't returning, I mean, she wasn't normal to begin with, but what people would think of as normal, because she wouldn't really let the housekeeper touch her. She wouldn't let the dog walker, and both of them have been here for years, and, she's just too afraid. And now
And I'm looking here, she was sleeping with you. She was looking more in the eyes. She was less playing by herself.
Yes.
And she was becoming more pleasant and more interactive.
Yeah.
And then back in December of 2013, she was great, you said, sleeping with you, not looking you in the eyes. Everything was great until it started to wear off again, and we gave her a higher dose.
Mm-hmm.
And everything started falling back into place again. And actually, this is very interesting. I gave her a CM, which was the last remedy, and that's a very high dose. Normally, it lasts for about a year. But it seems that all of your animals suddenly did not do so well.
Well, I was wondering about that because I think maybe the way I described it was made it seem like, that the remedy wasn't working as well as it really is, because I was trying to, how you've told me to pay attention to the small signs.
Right.
So I think sometimes I might
magnify
it so that I'm trying to make sure I don't forget to tell you.
Yeah.
So the frenetic activity, when I say, oh, it's starting, it's so
Subtle.
Small compared with what it used to be.
But the thing is, I know that you had a lot of work on your plate recently, and
Yes.
as we were going over your 6 animals by phone, it seemed that everybody sort of some of their symptoms flared up at the same time. And as I said to my clients many times, when there's stress, when the owner's away a lot or they're under stress, it's an emotional kind of stress or assault on the animals, and the remedies can be antidoted.
Yeah,
So,
that's a hard thing for even
don't
with
wanna
my
make you feel guilty,
familiarity.
that's
No, but it's hard to accept. It really is. And when you said it to me recently, or pointed that out, that the amount of stress I told you I had, and then you said, well, that coincided with the animals.
Well, after the 3rd animal, I kind of said there has to be something else that's going on here. So just imagine if you were like a 5-year-old child, and your mother just got a new job, and she was away a lot. I mean, wouldn't you be upset?
Well, I started to
children.
think about it in those terms, and it's something that I want to be more aware of, because it's true.
I mean, we have to live our lives. We can't stop working. I have had some clients that have given up their jobs for their animals, but not everybody can be so lucky to do that. So it's just, if we're aware of it, the beauty of homeopathy is we can address their neediness, their grief of your being gone, and bring them back into homeostasis. So that's the beauty, just to be aware of it. But we can't stop living our lives. We have to make our money to pay for their vet bills. So, but once we understand what the underlying cause is, I mean, I had a dog that went tetraplegic. I was treating the dog very well for paresis of the back legs, and I get a desperate call from the dog sitter that the dog is paralyzed, completely paralyzed. They actually had brought it down during the night to the emergency clinic, and they said to put it to sleep. They had all these IVs and drugs, and the dog could not move. I find out that the owner was in India. He was an antique dealer, and the dog. And I said, "That's it." He was away, and even though he traveled a lot on business, the dog was 15 years old, very weak, and I gave it Ignatia, a high dose of Ignatia, And I said to the two dog sitters that were staying at the house, I said, call me tomorrow, let me know what that dog is doing. And they said, great, he's walking. Within an hour, everything was wonderful. So the man, actually, the owner, I spoke to him in India, he took the next plane back. I mean, he's a great owner. And I said,
goodness.
don't take the plane back yet. I think we're going to get the dog fine. This is from grief, paralysis from grief. And anyway, he came back, and then I spoke to him after he got back, and he said, wow, thank you so much. My dog is great. How long is this going to last for? I said, well, until your next trip. So, but the good news is that you can actually, knowing that, you can give the ignatia before the trip, and you can prevent that from happening. Yeah. But what happens is when they're older, if they're very sensitive, or if they're older and weaker, it hits them harder.
Yes.
But all of the animals ultimately, I mean, we're their world. I mean, they're not living in their natural surroundings. They're not out with their families hunting. I mean, they're here waiting for us to come home from work. And if their pattern is different at all, they really pick up on that, and it affects them. And some of them, they are grieving, they're not getting the attention. Some of them are worried about us, that maybe they're very, very sympathetic and they don't like to see you getting all stressed out, but they are definitely emotional sponges. So it's just being aware of that is so useful, because we actually can help them. It's not just making you feel guilty about having too much work and not giving your cat attention.
Yeah, it's I do notice that I feel defensive.
Yeah.
Just when the subject comes up, but it's fun.
Well, we ultimately love our animals. We want to do everything for them, but we can't, you have to.
But that's beside the point, because it's better to keep looking and observing what's going on with them and the timing, and trying to put my own
what's really good is to see your own homeopath for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
So we don't get so stressed out, and we treat ourselves as well as we treat our animals.
Exactly.
And I wish I'm as guilty as anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I put my animals first before myself, as most of my clients do. My most beloved clients. Okay, so right now, do you think she is looking me in the eye?
Yeah.
She doesn't look really so terrible to me. How is she doing?
No, she's not. She had that one incident where she crashed into the blinds so hard that she broke them, but she's crashed into them so often.
Okay.
I mean, over a couple of years. But then I was noticing that she's actually slept on the bed with other cats there.
Okay.
Which
so after the stress, now that you're relaxed, the big project's finished, she seems more relaxed. And
maybe to my eye, I'm seeing
relaxed.
it with a more relaxed framework too.
Okay. So when and things shift. I mean, the thing is, it depends how strong the stress is, whether remedy is going to be antidote or not. But usually, as I say, this should last for many, many months. And if things are nice and peaceful in the house now and quiet and back to normal, she definitely can rebound. We may not have to repeat it.
Yeah, that's why I was so glad that we had the opportunity for you to actually see her, because...
Hey, sweetheart, look, she's looking me right in the eye. I mean, she did not before.
She allows the dog walker who comes in the afternoon to brush her every day.
I mean, she's definitely aware and looking at her environment.
Yeah.
I mean, what's incredible, we're so trained to think that we have to give a medication every day, like an antidepressant, or something like Ritalin every day. Whereas when you have a homeopathic remedy that's rebalancing the animal from the inside out, one remedy can last a year, and one remedy hopefully can actually cure them. And that's what we always head for, is a cure that we don't need to keep repeating ever again.
Yes.
So she's young enough. She's only 3 years old.
Yeah.
So my goal is that we never have to deal with this autism again. I mean, even if we did, it's not so terrible, but hypothetically and in practice, you can make an unbalanced, sick animal completely healthy again.
Yes, especially when they're young.
Especially when they're young.
When
especially
you start.
And the thing is also, what's so important, what's so great about you, is that so many of our diseases start in the mind. Like, they're learning about that now with people with heart disease and high blood pressure and IBD. But if we left this autism, and it's not just, some people may say, well, so she's in her own world, what's the big deal? Why spend money on the cat? It's just a little emotional problem. But actually, if left unchecked, physical problems will develop down the line. Because if she's hanging on to the window like that during the kind of day, who knows what's going on in her insides? I mean, she could develop asthma, IBD, cancer, stress. So but with homeopathy, you could actually prevent problems. By working on an energetic level, we're preventing this. We never can prove that. except by the fact maybe these animals live till 27 and never have a problem.
Yes.
But, if you start young, and this is so great. I mean, I actually saw you with the first two very, very sick and older animals.
Yes.
And then they responded so beautifully. You wanted me to start with your younger cats, first the older cat and then the younger cats.
Yeah.
That if we start treating them emotionally, they will not develop down the line, these physical problems.
Yeah, absolutely. She, just the fact that she lets people pet her all the time now, where she couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not somebody just visiting.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's amazing.
The dog walker, the housekeeper. I mean, they couldn't touch her.
Yeah.
And now she interacts with them all the time, and she's more comfortable with the other animals too.
Yep.
So that makes for such an improvement in the quality of her life.
And your life too. And your life too.
She's more relaxed and she's more comfortable in her own skin. Yeah.
And we're all one. We all feed off each other.
Yeah.
So if we have stressed out animals, we become maybe stressed, and just having a more harmonious household has got to be good for everybody. Right?
Exactly.
Because animals are supposed to lower our blood pressure, but there are certain clients that I have that animals are so off the wall, they never want to have another animal again. So to think that we can address these emotional issues in such a simple way is quite incredible.
Because she was in a certain state when you first saw her, but it's not like she would have stayed in that state. She could have gotten much worse.
Yeah, I mean, look at her. She's actually very relaxed right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I came up with the primary remedy to antidote vaccines, which is Thuya. And it has been miraculous. She said this cat that for 3 years never looked them in the eye, wouldn't let anybody touch her, ran away from the dog sitter, the housekeeper, anybody knew, is now interacting like a normal cat. And I had the good luck to really see this cat, and you could see on the video how this cat now looks you in the eye, plays with the other cat, sleeps with her, and it's just a completely normal cat. Initially I started on a low dose and it kind of wore off, and we're up to a high dose now, and the cat is one normal cat.
I am one with the heart.